Hey mamas, I'm Brooke Miller, registered dietitian, certified lactation counselor, and a mama who has helped hundreds of moms feel like themselves again after baby, boost their energy, mood, metabolism, and even milk supply. Inside of the Postpartum Shift podcast, you'll learn how to take care of your health so that you can show up best for the ones you care about most. Each week, we'll tackle topics like nutrition, exercise, breastfeeding, mental health, and so much more. Plus, you'll get access to guest experts who will share ways to make your pregnancy and postpartum experience easier. Whether you're approaching the postpartum period or you're right in the thick of it, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's topic. Hey mamas, welcome back to the podcast. This week, I wanted to talk a little bit about sickness, illness, cold and flu season, and how to stay on track with your health goals when all of these inevitable illnesses come into play. And so if you noticed, I took a few weeks off from the podcast, and it was because I had a nasty sinus infection. I was constantly blowing my nose, spiking fevers. It started off as COVID, the flu. My baby got COVID and then influenza A, and it just kept transforming into new virus after new virus. And if I wasn't super sick, then somebody else in my family was super sick. And it was just the first few weeks of January were super rough. And I know so many other parents out there, you have felt the same pain during the holiday season. I know there were so many things going around, and a lot of moms reached out and just asked, how are you A, surviving, and B, how are you still able to manage things and take care of your health? And what does that look like in the season when we're sick, our kids are sick? And so I wanted to talk about this topic because inevitably, if you have especially little kids, any kids in preschool, in elementary school, anything like that, they are going to be bringing back lots of germs. So something that I really fixated and focused on during the last few weeks was asking myself, what do I have control over? And what are some things that I can do for my health that are not going to compromise sickness? So even though I love exercising and I love strength training, I knew if I had a 103 fever and the full body aches, I knew forcing myself to do a workout was not what was best for my body. It was not going to help me heal faster. I knew in that week, in that season when I kept spiking fevers and having chills and massive headaches, I knew my body needed rest and hydration and nourishment. And so instead of doing some other habits that I normally would focus on, I had to take a step back in that season and focus on other things. And I had zero guilt about it, zero shame. It was just yeah, this is, what life threw at me in this moment. And it kind of sucks, but I don't really have much I can do besides, try to heal and recover from this. And of course, there's some naturopathic things that I tried. I used a neti pot like crazy, but eventually my sinus infection got so bad that I had to go to the doctor and get on antibiotics. And I'm not one to jump to medications and antibiotics immediately, but it was time. And I'm so glad that I did because I started feeling a lot better, pretty relatively quickly. So when you're in the season of life where, you're sick or your kids are sick, really take a step back and ask, what are one or two things that are going to help me feel better in the season? So I knew I was probably gonna have to go to bed even earlier than normal. So instead of focusing on working out or some other habit, I shifted my focus that week on I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to be in bed by 8 and I'm going to try to fall asleep before 9. And truthfully, I did that. When I was sick, it was so easy to do that. I got my kids down to bed, and some nights I was laying in bed by 7:30 and, falling asleep by 8. And so again, it's okay if, during this season or during a season of illness, if your goals change and shift, that's totally fine. You really need to take a step back and ask your body what it needs. Now, you might be in another situation where you're totally healthy. You feel great. You feel fine. You don't have illness, but you are taking care of a sick kiddo or sick kiddos. And things may need to shift a little bit. And so your time and energy may be just spent a little bit differently during these weeks. And so again, you need to take a step back and ask yourself, well, what can I do realistically in this season? So maybe it means that if your kids are like well enough that they can sit in a stroller and it's nice outside, maybe it's like, hey, we're going to go around the block and do a 10-minute walk for fresh air. Maybe that means if they do end up falling asleep, maybe that means doing a quick in-home workout until they wake up. It might mean just when they go to bed that you do something for yourself. Maybe it's stretching or yoga or a hot bath or shower or reading, whatever that may be. And for cooking, it may mean, that you have to do grocery pickup versus going to the grocery store. It may mean that you may have to do fast food, 1 or 2 extra nights that week, even if that's not something that you normally do. And so there are some fast food options that are definitely not terrible and are ones that we utilize. We don't do fast food that often, but definitely, we have nights where things are really hectic with the kids and it's just easier. And so, you can always do that in a week or a season where you're like, oh man, we need to rely on this a little bit more heavily. Something else you can do is something like HelloFresh or meal delivery. Sometimes people only do that like in the first few months postpartum, or they'll do it, just kind of like the weeks that they know, like things have come up or it's going to be a really busy week for them or the kids are sick or something like that. So those are some things that you can do. And really like you have to kind of pay attention to like what your mind does during this season. So sometimes when we're in the season and, maybe we didn't work out as much as we normally do, or we ate fast food a little bit more frequently than we normally do, sometimes we start to spiral or beat ourselves up or, talk to ourselves in a really negative way. And it's really important to, look at how you're viewing the situation and what you're going to do after. So if I, during that time of rest where I focused on hydration and nourishment and going to bed early and I didn't exercise, I looked at that situation and said, that's what my body needed right now. And when I feel better, then I'll get back to working out and it'll be fine. I could have looked at the situation and said, oh my gosh, I'm such a failure. I'm so lazy. I am so off track now. Like, what's the point? I'm probably going to gain 30 pounds while, I have this illness, and that is not helpful for the situation. And so you really want to ask yourself, like, how do I perceive this situation? How am I looking at it? And how am I going to act once this situation is over? So once my kids are healthy or once I'm healthy, what types of things am I going to do? And how am I going to talk to myself during this time? It's so, so, so important because the truth is when it comes to our health journey as moms, it is not going to be perfect. Like I just kind of go into every year knowing things are not going to go quite as planned and there are going to be things that happen out of my control. And that is just what I signed up for by being a mom. And that's okay. And sometimes our timelines need to shift and change because what we did before kids, sometimes that timeline or, before kids, like if we didn't have to leave work early if our kiddo had a fever or, we didn't have to stay home with a sick kid and, kind of compromise our schedule and day for another human being. And so just know that it's okay if things are a little bit messy. It's okay if you have to be a little bit more flexible during this season of life. And just know that just because you have a week where you're sick or you have a week where maybe you're traveling or your kids are sick or you're on vacation or something comes up, just because you have like 1 week off that's not consistent, that does not mean that all of your progress is going to be thrown out the window. If you've been wanting to reach your healthiest weight and feel like yourself again postpartum without having to sacrifice your favorite foods or your milk supply, I've got a free workshop just for you. Inside of this free workshop, you'll discover how to boost energy, mood, metabolism, and even protect your milk supply. You'll learn common mistakes that moms make that actually cause exhaustion, mood swings, low milk supply, and weight loss resistance to become worse, things that moms don't even realize. And you'll learn the proven 3-step method to heal your hormones and metabolism after baby so you can go from surviving to thriving postpartum. Plus, as a free gift, you'll get my postpartum snack guide when you come hang out with us. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes to save your seat today. Spots are limited. See you there. Because I will tell you, I didn't just gain like 30 pounds the week I was sick. Nothing like drastically happened in a bad way with my health. Like I didn't go get my labs checked, but I can guarantee you my labs probably didn't look a lot different, that week I was sick versus the week before, because what we do consistently over a long period of time, that impacts our health. So if you kind of look at the year as a whole, there's 52 weeks in a year. Let's say you're sick for 3 different weeks throughout the year and you just kind of rest and you don't necessarily, follow all of your health goals, perfectly during those weeks. At the end of the day, there's still 49 other weeks throughout the year. And what you do during those weeks more consistently is way more important than what happens over, a few weeks out of the year. And same thing with even the days of the week. It's like if Saturday you're like, oh man, I overate, it didn't feel good, I stayed up way too late, I had, 3 glasses of wine and that did not feel good and I don't want to do that again. You can just look at that experience and say, okay, I know I don't feel good when I stay up too late, when I have alcohol, when I do XYZ. And so I can learn from that, situation and choose something different the next day without guilt, without shame, but just saying, yeah, I learned from that experience. That's not how I want to feel. I know when I go to bed early and when I, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables and eat protein and eat consistently and move my body, I know I feel way better. So I'm just going to focus my attention on doing that. But again, not doing it from a place of guilt or shame or I screwed up or I messed up, just from a place of I know my body functions best when I do this type of thing consistently over time. So just know that, cold and flu season is rough and it is part of being a mom. I don't think that there's any way to escape it. And just because we go through that and we might have off weeks, that does not mean that we are never going to hit our health goals. It does not mean that we're going to be off track for the rest of the year. So screw it. Like I'm going to throw up my hands and wave my white flag and just be done. That does not mean that you have to act in that way or believe those things. Just know that it's going to be messy. That is okay. And what things do you have control over that you can do to make your body feel better? The other thing to kind of keep in mind during the season of life is when it comes to our immunity, our gut health is really important for our immunity. Things like taking enough vitamins and minerals. So if we're really deficient in vitamins and minerals, if our gut health is really poor, then those things can just set us up to get more sick more frequently, have more severe illnesses, take longer to recover. So that is why, especially, most of the time consistently, we want to focus on good nutrition, because if our gut health is functioning well, if we are filling in the gaps and we are getting our vitamin and mineral needs and protein needs and all of these things throughout the day, at least when an illness comes into our house, we will recover faster. We will get back to normal faster. And that is something so important. So when I was down and out, like I said, I used my neti pot a lot. That thing is great. You can use it as many times as you want. I actually have like the neti pot. It's like a battery operated one. So it like shoots water up your nose. It's like way more powerful. So highly suggest something like that. I also drank my LMNT electrolytes every single day when I was sick, and those are definitely helpful. I took all of my vitamins, my probiotic, like all of the usual vitamins that I was on, I continued taking. And of course, like I said, I really prioritized super crazy early bedtime. I took, baths or hot showers whenever I had the opportunity. Usually I would put my kids to bed, take a hot shower, take a hot bath, and then I would go lay down in bed. Some nights I would even do stretching. And then once I started finally getting like on the tail end where, I'd been on antibiotics for like 7 days at this point, I was no longer contagious, I went and got a massage at the very, very end. And oh my gosh, that was probably one of the most glorious massages I've ever had in my entire life. Just to like do something, I feel like it really helped kind of release things out of my body. So highly, highly encourage just some of those natural ways. Something else I did when I was feeling ill, this wasn't a day that I had like a massive fever, but it was a day where I was like just not feeling great and the weather was actually really nice. So I went for a walk outside and it was short. I moved real slow because I just had some respiratory things going on. And so I was not like racing or power walking around the block, but just walking slowly, getting fresh air, even sitting on your porch or patio and getting fresh air if it's nice out. just that vitamin D can do wonders, and the fresh air can do wonders too when you're sick. So those are just some things that you can do to kind of take care of yourself. But I did a lot of grocery pickup during the week we were sick. We didn't go into any grocery stores, and we made just super simple, easy meals. We only cooked a few times that week. We made, a ton of portion sizes so that we could just eat leftovers, just to make life a lot easier. So that is something else I suggest when you're not feeling well, is like, just pick 1 or 2 recipes that are pretty simple and easy to make, and then lean on those. And then we did grocery pickup very frequently because my kids go through things like blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. Like, we go through berries like absolutely crazy. So we're actually doing grocery pickup probably 3 times a week. And sometimes it's literally just for things like fresh fruit. But I tried to make sure that we always had fresh fruit in the house because berries are filled with antioxidants, which is really important when you're trying to heal. So those are some things that helped. Oh, also one more thing, smoothie recipes. So I have a ton of smoothie recipes inside the postpartum shift, but I leaned on smoothies when I was sick and the kids were sick. And that's just a way to get in greens, again, antioxidants from fruits and vegetables. I put in collagen powder. I do Greek yogurt. So that way it was like a pretty well-nourished snack, and smoothies are usually pretty well tolerated when you're not feeling well. So smoothies are something that I highly encourage when you're sick, when you're pregnant and having nausea. I like them for post-workout snacks as well. So smoothies can fit in, for a lot of different functions. So I hope this at least alleviated any guilt or shame that you have. If you're sick, if you get off track for whatever reason, just know that you're never behind on your health journey. We're always looking forward to the future, the long-term future. Like, we want to pay attention to what is our health going to look like in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, rather than, oh my gosh, I got off this week, I failed, I'm a failure. No, we don't have to wait until Monday to start over. It's just learn from this experience, take what you have control over in that moment, and then, just continue moving forward. We don't have to shame ourselves and look at our past with defeat or failure, because that is not going to move us closer to our health goals. So moms, I hope you stay healthy out there. We are still, my 2-year-old still has diarrhea and vomiting. So I don't know, guys. I don't know what's moving through our house now, but he seems to be the only one sick. Everyone else is staying healthy. So I'm hoping none of us get this. And maybe it was just something he ate. Who knows? And I wish everyone just a better cold and flu season come January, February, March, as we head into this year. I really hope things slow down, because December and early January were pretty rough. So sending you all the good, healthy vibes, mama, and I'll see you in the next episode. Exercise is crucial for our overall mental and physical health, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. Something that has helped me stay really consistent with strength training and yoga at home during nap time is the Expecting and Empowered workout app. I love that I can choose how many weeks pregnant or postpartum I am, and the app tells me exactly what to do. Plus, there's cardio, yoga, and strength training options for new moms and moms to be. You can go ahead and click the link in the show notes to get 7 days free, and also save 15% off the annual option when you use promo code NutritionForMamas. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to the Postpartum Shift podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could share this episode with a mom friend and leave a written review. This helps the podcast reach and help even more moms. Come say hi over on Instagram at Nutrition for Mamas.